Hello, BookTube. Welcome back to my 2024 library tour. In this episode, I'm continuing with my science fiction and fantasy collection. This is part 6, Big Trouble in the Fictional Country. I begin this part of the tour, this shelf, where I left off yesterday with Jin Yong. I have two more books by him. First up is The Book and the Sword, which is credited to Louis Cha. So Louis Cha was the birth name of Jin Yong. Jin Yong is the pen name. So this book is set during the Qing Dynasty, the Qianlong Emperor's reign, and it's about belief that the Qianlong Emperor was actually Han Chinese rather than a Manchu. Also set during the Qing Dynasty is Foxville Land of the Snowy Mountain. And so this is a story about a group of ne'er-do-wells who are looking for a treasure. And they end up uh, overnighting in a monastery, which is coming under attack by a revengeful young man. And a lot of secrets are revealed during the sort of various conflicts that take place during this novel. I didn't particularly like it much. Next is Black Dog by K.V. Johansen. I'm not entirely sure why I have this book, to be honest with you. It's probably one of those that I saw written about somewhere and wanted to have it and picked it up cheap on a Libris and just never got around to it. The next two are by Cameron Johnston. They are a duology. The first book is The Traitor God. It's about a man from a city state ruled by magicians who's been in exile for uh, several years, if not decades, who returns to the city after the death of his best friend. And he goes to investigate what's going on. And while he's there, he uncovers an evil conspiracy going to the very heart of the city that he's involved with, though he doesn't remember it. It's very grimdark. The second book in the duology is God of Broken Things. Oh, and the series is called The Age of Tyranny. Um, this sees our main character traveling to find his past and to confront yet another threat to his city. His city's not very popular, I don't remember. Or if I remember correctly. I don't think anybody else particularly cares for that city. Next up is Have Mercy by Jada Jones and Daniel Bennett. Again, this is one of those books that I'm not entirely sure why I have. I just know I bought it on the cheap from a Libris. The next two books are by Robert Jordan. They are Conan pastiches. I used to have some of the Wheel of Time novels, but I got rid of them last year. So let me readjust them because they were actually not in order. So these are the Conan Chronicles. Um, so I first encountered the literary Conan through the pastiches, not the Lynn Carter and Elsbrog de Camp that a lot of older Conan fans first experienced him literarily, but through the tour pastiches that came out in the 80s and early 90s. I, in my teens, collected quite a few of them, several of which were by Robert Jordan, who wrote some of the earlier pastiches. Um, in my forthcoming unhaul videos or purge videos, whatever I decide to entitle them, I think I have two Conan Pistachios that I'm getting rid of because I had to go at one of them. Uh, but for I think the first Garbogast, I had to go at it, and it was just, what was my teenage self thinking? That book's a pile of poo. Anyway, so this is the first of two omnibuses of the Conan Pistachios by Robert Jordan. It includes Conan the Invincible. I don't know if I've read that one. Conan the Defender and Conan the Unconquered. I think I've read both of them. Or I might have read all three. I don't remember. It's been so long. Um, the second volume is called The Further Chronicles of Conan. And this book includes Conan the Magnificent, Conan the Triumphant, and Conan the Victorious, which I'm not entirely sure which ones of those I may or may not have read. It has been so long. Next, I have the first two books in a young adult fantasy series called The Runebinder Chronicles by Alex R. Kaler. The first book is Runebinder. So this series is set in a post-apocalyptic Earth in which some people have developed magical powers. The main character is a young man in a sort of a task force defending something or other, fighting demons that have somehow invaded Earth. He falls in love with a young man who's a bit older than him in the same organization, and he is also pursued by a demon who also seems to have formed an attraction to him. I had to go at this several years ago and did not like it at all. And then the second volume is Runebreaker, in which I think the demon from the first book finds a young man who's maybe a bit more amenable to dating him than our main character from the first book. Given the cover, maybe. Anyway, unless of course that was the demon. I don't know. I've never bothered to have a go at that one. Next are three books by Guy Gabriel Kay, who has been for about 30 or 40 years a major voice in fantasy. He got a start working with the Tolkien estate and also writing the Fictional Tapestry, which was a portal fantasy with heavy Tolkien influences. Later, his work developed into a more sort of drawing heavy inspiration on Earth history, with the serial numbers filed off. So the first book is Tigana, which is about two feuding wizards in not Renaissance Italy. I had to go at this 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and didn't care for it. I also have a song for Arbonne, which is about the not Albigensian Crusader. I read the first chapter or two and never went back to it, and that was from the library. And I've never gotten to the Alliance of El Rasan, which is, I think, about Moorish Spain, or not Moorish Spain. Next is a anthology by Marvin Kay, Weird Tales, which I guess collected a number of short stories from Weird Tales, which was, maybe still is, a science fiction and fantasy, or more fantasy magazine that has a long history, but an uneasy publishing history, particularly recently. The stories actually don't really entice me all that much, although I haven't actually taken the time to read it. So the next four books are part of the Khorasan Archive um, by Asama Zahanat Khan. The first book is The Bloodprint. So this is a grimdark feminist fantasy set in a world, or actually quite possibly a post-apocalyptic version of East Central Asia. So Iran is the westernmost country featured, or a place highly inspired by Iran, and then also including Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, probably, Afghanistan, Pakistan, probably into the Uyghur or Xinjiang province, China, maybe Tibet. Certainly, there's also a bit of the Himalayas or another mountain range, and then the southern Russia. It's about a evil prophet who is trying to um, destroy reading. In the setting, this holy book allows some people to have magical powers. The prophet is opposed by a society of women magicians and warriors, as well as a few other um, powerful magicians. And the book is basically our main characters trying to figure out ways of defeating this evil prophet, and just constantly having to find something new. So this is the Bloodprint. I build on it, and then I build redeemed it, um, and I'm not entirely sure. I don't think I'm ever actually going to revisit it, even though I still need to get, well, maybe not, probably not the fourth book. But this is the Bloodprint, book one. The second book is The Black Khan. The third book is The Blue Eye. And the fourth and final book is The Blade Bone, where hopefully that evil prophet is finally put down for good. Because he and his sort of followers are just repugnant. Anyway, and finally for this shelf, I have Stillcrow Saga by Paul Kruger. This is a fantasy inspired by an anti-colonial World War II. Um, I don't remember what it's been a long time. This was also a Bill Redemption, a Bill Redemption in which maybe I shouldn't have actually done a Bill Redemption because I didn't really like it. So basically about a country that is inspired by Japan conquering basically the rest of the western part of the Pacific. There is this country kind of similar to China, and then there's Korea, which is oppressed no matter who's its colonial overlord. There's the Philippines and India. So the magic of China and the Philippines is basically like Pokemon. And then the magic of Japan is more like Avatar The Last Airbender, focusing on steel. And it's about a squadron of Philippine soldiers escorting the last remaining Japanese prince back to Japan so he can be crowned as emperor, as lead emperor. Well, I think it's like the Steel Lord or something like that, Iron Lord or something like that. So he can sort of sign a peace treaty and sort of end this war. He is pursued by a Chinese princess who's basically like Zuko, who fancies herself Hercule Poirot or Sherlock Holmes. Yeah. So yeah, that concludes part 6 of my 2020 of science fiction and fantasy. I'll be back tomorrow with part 7. So and hopefully a better way of doing parts 7 and 8 than I did parts 3 and 4, because I do not want to look like Baron Harkonnen. Anyway, BookTube, until I see you tomorrow, thank you, have a great afternoon, and stay safe.